Hello, my name is Kirsten Lombard. I'm the founder of Resounding Books. I'm the editor of the book Common Ground on Common Core, and I'm a longtime grassroots activist in my home state of Wisconsin. I am coming to you on the day after Thanksgiving to let you know about a situation that is pressing down on all of us and to enlist your assistance. Many of you may be aware of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, better known as ESEA, ESA, or by its most recent authorization name, No Child Left Behind. For those of you who are not familiar with ESA, it is the principal mechanism via which the federal government has established, expanded, and cemented its unconstitutional role in the education business. Each successive reauthorization of ESA that has occurred since the 1960s has quite literally deepened the reach of the federal government's tentacles into education, and frankly, it is also expanding the cronyism related to education. So this is really an insidious act that has just continually been reauthorized and via which centralization and standardization of education in this nation has been achieved. Centralization and standardization has not been good for education. The federal government's role in education has not been good for education. And frankly, the partnership that the federal government has formed with private third parties in relationship to education has not been good. It is detrimental to students, it is detrimental to parental rights, it is detrimental to local control, and it is detrimental to the craft of teaching. So really nothing good about ESA at all. Unfortunately, we have a new reauthorization of ESA bearing down on us again very, very quickly. Some of you may be aware that different reauthorization versions were written in both the House and the Senate at the federal level. The Senate version was called the Every Child Achieves Act. The House Act was called the Student Success Act. Those have now been conferenced together and are together in their merged form called the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. Most people do not understand that, in fact, the conferencing of this bill was not accomplished by the conferee members, by the members of the committee that were appointed to conference that bill together. In fact, a very small handful of people behind the scenes were responsible for cobbling this bill together. There has been absolutely no public insight into this process. Not only has there been no public access to this language as it's been being crafted, no hearings, no visibility into the process, but frankly, your federal legislators in Washington have really had no visibility into this process either. And some, for example, Mike Lee of Utah, Senator Mike Lee, are complaining about this process and the fact that the way that this is being handled is also going to make it very difficult to amend this bill. Another thing that's very important to understand about this bill, this conferenced bill, which has been handled really in the dark and away from public view, is that by all reports, the bill is approximately 1,100 pages in length. That bill will not be seen by the public or by the public's representatives in Washington until this Monday, November 30th. And yet, despite the fact that we will have had no visibility into this process, no visibility into this language, a floor vote is currently scheduled in the House just 3 days later on December 2nd, and just a few days after that, on December 7th, a vote is scheduled in the Senate. So they are rushing this bill through. Now, you and I have seen things like this before. We have seen bills rushed through in the dark, particularly at the holidays, when leadership in Washington believes that we are too distracted to notice, to care, to react, to push back. We need to prove them wrong right now. We need to raise our voices as one, as parents, as teachers, as concerned citizens and activists, as taxpayers, and say simply, no more. This must stop. The process alone is enough to invalidate this bill. While we've had very little visibility so far into the actual language of this bill, we are being told that it is largely the Senate version of the bill, and because of that, we have a strong suspicion about much of what is in the bill. I'm not going to get into the weeds with you about that. I can direct you to some additional sources so that you can get a better sense of that. But just again, on principle alone, the fact that there has not been a review process, this bill should just frankly be voted down. There are a few people that I would appreciate it if you would speak to directly about this bill. If you would be tweeting, Facebooking, emailing, calling these folks, it's really important that we get through to them. First of all, Speaker Paul Ryan. On ascending his chair as Speaker, Speaker Ryan gave a tremendously inspiring speech and made some promises to the American people and to his fellow legislators. He essentially promised a return to order, that there would be greater fairness and transparency in the legislative process. Already we are seeing in this ESEA process that those promises are being broken. We need you to be tweeting or contacting in some other way Speaker Ryan to remind him of the promises that he made and to ask him if that's really the legacy he wants, to be the guy who, just like his predecessors, was shoving bills through in the dark of night at the holidays, behind the backs, really, of the American people. Is that the legacy he wants? We need to be asking him that question. We need you to be contacting your federal legislators in Washington to raise concerns about the fact that this bill is being pushed through the way it is. And we need you to tell them on principle alone, just because there has not been a long enough review period, they should be voting no on this bill because they cannot possibly, in 3 days or in 8 days, know what is in this bill or how it will impact education, how it will affect liberty in relationship to education, the rights of parents. I would also be very grateful if you would start to reach out to the members of the House Freedom Caucus, who have a lot of power right now to do two things. One, hold Speaker Ryan accountable. They were largely responsible for helping to place him in the Speaker's role. Now we need them to be holding his feet to the fire, to be keeping the promises he made to them and to the American people. And also, we need them to be aware that if they are truly for freedom, as they say, then what is in this bill really is not in their interest to vote for. We need them to stand as a bloc against this bill and help defeat it in the House. If we can defeat it in the House, the bill dies. We kill it. I would also be grateful if you would be reaching out to your state legislators and to your governors. A lot of things are being said about this bill, frankly, just marketing spin in order to get buy-in from certain target audiences on this bill, so that people will just basically nod and say, of course, this is the right thing to have happen. One of the biggest lies that is being told is that this new reauthorization of ESEA is going to hand all kinds of proper authority on education back to the states and to local school districts. In fact, that's just not true. We know from the language of the House and the Senate bills and what is likely to be in the language that this new reauthorization, even the conference version, is not going to be truly handing authority back to the states in the way that it should. What it's really going to do is hide federal control better. What it will also do is make the states enforcers for the federal mandates. There is a huge difference between truly handing back constitutional authority to the states and to the people and simply making the states enforcers for federal mandates. And unless our state legislators understand that, they are simply going to nod in assent as this is all done in Washington. They won't lift a finger. They will simply wait to see what's in the language after it's passed, and then they will have no choice, or they will have very little choice, but to comply with what what is in the language. We need you to be waking up your state legislators and your governors right now and having them get on the phone to their legislators, their federal legislators as well. Sometimes state legislators or governors will have a little more pull. It's sad that that should be the case, but they sometimes have a little bit more pull with federal legislators in Washington. And so we need them to be reaching out and saying, stop, whoa, desist. Really what needs to happen is this bill just needs to be killed. Stop ESEA. This is, you may have seen this hashtag on Twitter if you're on Twitter, stop ESEA. That's what needs to happen. The final group of people that I would really like to speak to today is you. You, the American people, you, my fellow citizens, fellow education activists, fellow taxpayers, fellow parents, teachers. You have the ability to make a true impact right now, not just by tweeting, Facebooking, emailing, phone calling these federal legislators, but also by making a video just like this one. The more videos that are out there about this situation, just even a 2 or 3 minute video, it doesn't have to be much, but if we can just literally flood Twitter, Facebook, other social media platforms with videos of this nature, we can start to educate and alert a whole lot more people, and we can also start tweeting these videos straight at federal legislators to really let them know that we are paying attention, that just because it's the holidays doesn't mean they get to do whatever they want while our eyes are closed and our backs are turned. So we would encourage you, I would encourage you, fellow activists of mine would encourage you to sit down just for even a few moments. It doesn't have to be polished, it doesn't have to be professional, just a few minutes of your time to make a quick video alerting people about ESEA, talking directly to your federal legislators about ESEA, talking to Speaker Ryan about ESEA, your state legislators, your governors, whatever you feel is the most important for you. But if you could do that and put it up on the web somewhere, that would be fantastic. If you do that, I hope that you will let me know at Resounding Books that you've done it, so we at Resounding Books can help to magnify your efforts. We would love to do that, and we can pass those links on to other activists who are working assiduously on this issue, who will also help to magnify your efforts. So thank you for your help. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for caring about true education and liberty. We are grateful to you, and we look forward to seeing your efforts and to partnering with you to stop ESEA. Have a beautiful holiday season, but don't go to sleep. Thank you.